I am going to play a G major scale two separate ways, and I want you to listen closely to see if you can tell the difference. If you didn't catch the difference between the two, that is okay. It is subtle. One of the times I played the scale, every note was connected. It was smooth. Every note led into the next note, whereas the other time I played the scale, it sounded like the notes were just individual notes and they didn't connect with each other. Now, this is something that I hear and see a lot with beginner mandolin players, and chances are, if you're doing this, you're probably doing this subconsciously. You're not even realizing that your sound is sounding like this, but just changing this one little thing that I'm going to show you will greatly improve your mandolin sound and take you from sounding like an amateur to sounding more like a pro mandolin player. One of the difficult things on this instrument is getting the notes to sound smooth, getting the notes to ring out and to be sustained. Because we have double pairs of strings on this instrument, it can be difficult to work up the finger strength and to get those calluses to where you are able to hold the strings down for long periods of time and allow the note to ring out. What happens when we're playing a note, and I'm talking about the left hand here, not the right hand, just the left hand. When you press down a string and you play a note, this is the second fret on my G string, you want to make sure that your finger is pressing down all the way. And once your finger is pressed down, you want to keep it there and allow the sound, allow the note to ring out. As soon as you lift the pressure off of that finger, if I lift the pressure off, the sound automatically stops. That gives us a pause in our music. If we take first finger to second finger, for instance, second fret to fourth fret, what happens is people will play the first note, take the pressure off before they play the second note. So we end up with a pause in between our two notes because the pressure of our finger has been lifted like this. Now it is a subtle difference and it might take some time to train your ear to hear that, but the sustain, the note ceases to ring out as long as it could because we are not keeping the pressure down on our finger. What we want to do is make our notes glide one into the other seamlessly, where there's no pause, every note is ringing out, there's not any sort of buzzing or space in between our notes. To do this, we have to keep our finger pressed down. So an exercise that you can practice to help your fingers get used to this is playing, again, we're going to take that second fret and fourth fret on the G string, first finger and second finger. When you play your first finger, okay, we're going to play that note, we're going to keep our finger pressed down while we put down our second finger. Okay, so yes, you're gonna be pressing down two fingers at one time. Now, this is an exercise. So I want you to practice first finger, keep it pressed down, don't let the pressure off. Next note, okay? Now you can hear between those two notes, there's just, the notes are ringing out. There's no pauses. It makes the notes sound connected. It makes the notes sound smooth. I want you to practice that seamless transition between notes, between every finger in the scale. So we did first to second, now we'll do second finger. So hold down second finger, keep it pressed down as you press down third. So there's no pause. You're not taking off the pressure of your fingers at all. So what actually happens when I am playing a scale? Do I keep all of my fingers pressed down the whole time? No, that would tire your fingers out very quickly. So what actually happens is there's this overlap that happens with our fingers. So going up this G scale, we have open. I press my first finger down, obviously. Okay, now I keep that down while I put second down so that there's no space between the notes, but after I have my second finger all the way pressed down on the string, I lift up first finger. So there's a tiny moment of overlap where I am pressing down both of them, but then I lift my first finger up and we just have second finger pressing down on the string. Now this is to, again, make sure that we don't have any sort of pauses between our notes. So you can practice that on the way up, and if you have trouble telling if your notes are being sustained, you can always record yourself. That is such a great tool that everybody has. Everybody has a phone. So just, I go to voice memos all the time and record myself playing, because sometimes it's so much easier to hear these little subtle differences when you are not the one playing, you're just the one listening. Now going back down the scale, we can't overlap our fingers because we got to go from third finger, for instance, if we're on the 5th fret on the D string, the top note of our G scale, we got to go from third finger back down to second. So there can't be any sort of overlap there. What you need to do is make the transition between your third finger and your second finger so fast that it's not audible that there is any sort of pause in the pressure pressing down on the string. Now this just takes time and practice and listening for every single note and listening for the notes to ring out as long as possible. So you want to keep your third finger pressed down as long as you can until right when you're going to change notes. And this has to be timed right with your next pick as well, so that you're plucking the string and changing your left hand fingers at the same time. Otherwise, there will be this disconnect where you might play lift up the pressure a little bit too soon and then pluck the next note, and therefore we get that same pause in between the notes, making the notes sound like individual and they're not connected. So just take time and practice this really slowly, going from one note to the next, trying to time your pick and your left hand at the same time to change at the same time. Once you have practiced this, you're going to notice hopefully a big difference in the sound of your notes, because they're no longer going to be individual. You're no longer going to sound like an amateur, but your notes are going to be smooth. They're going to be ringing out, and you're going to be able to hear the tone of your mandolin a little bit more, because you're not going to be choking off the sound as much. This same principle can be applied to everything that we play on the mandolin, right? Every single piece, even chords, changing in between chords, the same principle applies. So take this tip and apply it to those other pieces that you are working on. All right, guys, I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe while you're at it. And I will see you guys in my next video.